If I was forced to say something nice about him, I would have to say at least he took action. May
Okay.
not be favorable action, but at least he took action. It just feels like Biden's not doing much.
What was so stunning in these focus groups, with 12 Hispanic Americans living in Arizona who are unhappy with both Trump and Biden, was the massive disconnect between them and the major presidential candidates. One would think that these pivotal voters living in a pivotal state would have attention showered upon them by these two campaigns. It turns out the opposite is the case. By a show of fingers, who feels as though the Biden campaign is paying a lot of attention to you and the Hispanic community in Arizona? Any of you feeling like the Biden campaign is specifically focusing a lot of attention on the Hispanic community in Arizona? I'll take that as a no. None of you feel that way. Same question about the Trump campaign. Anybody seeing outreach from the Trump campaign, Trump himself, specifically targeting the Hispanic community in Arizona? The way I just described for the Biden team, surrogates coming talking to you at civic organizations, mailers, phone calls, emails, text messages, basing any of that from the Trump campaign directed at you as Hispanic Americans living in Arizona. None of it. This lack of focus on this community is shown by how little these respondents know about what Biden and Trump have planned for a second term. That's compounded by the fact that only 6 say they are paying close attention to the campaign. Just 5 respondents know anything about what Biden has planned for a second term, and just 2 know anything about what Trump has planned. For Biden, they said this:
protect reproductive rights.
I was going to say the same thing. Productive rights.
Overturn the decision about Roe v. Wade.
Order issue.
I was just going to say the same thing about Roe and Wade.
And they said Trump pledged to do this:
stop the war in Ukraine.
Lower taxes.
Consider this also. Just 7 respondents could name one thing that Donald Trump achieved in 4 years as president. And just 4 respondents could name one thing that Biden has achieved in his time in office. Here's what they said that Trump has achieved.
I would say stricter immigration policy.
I'd say the way he handled COVID.
And putting an end to Roe versus Wade.
I would say the increase of tariffs on China.
Prison reform.
The stock market hit all-time high.
I know that the middle class income increased while he was in office.
And these are the Biden achievements they could name.
Getting people on affordable health care.
I forgot the name of the bill, but it was the Infrastructure Act that was passed. Signed
Okay.
Decriminalizing marijuana.
The Juneteenth holiday, he added.
Okay. Is that the only achievement you can name, Rochelle? Is getting a holiday named?
Yeah.
Emblematic of their negativity toward both candidates, here are the top of mind words or phrases they use to describe each candidate. Let's start with President Biden.
Useless.
Too old.
Incompetent.
Senile.
Ancient.
Old.
Underwhelming.
Current president.
Sleepy Joe.
Old.
I thought old as well.
Weak.
And here's what they think of Trump.
Inappropriate.
Con artist.
Loud.
Aggressive.
Controversial.
Former president.
Angry person.
Rude.
Poor leadership.
Ridiculous.
Arrogant.
Questionable.
This, of course, leads to the inevitable question of who they plan to vote for. Well, in a 2-way race, 5 would take Biden, 3 would take Trump, and 4 would not vote. In a 5-way race, 2 would take Biden, 1 would take Trump, 5 would take RFK Jr., 2 would take Jill Stein, and 2 would not vote. Here's what's attractive to some of them about RFK Jr.
I recently watched an interview with him about a week ago, and he seemed very, very knowledgeable on our U.S. history, where from the 60s to up until now, I don't know, he was just it sounded like I was like he was a historian of American policy, and he also seems to toe the line really well between not being too conservative, not being too democratic.
The family history of being in politics, I would assume that he's got, pretty well knowledge.
Oh, I picked him because I know he would be good for the economy because I know he's involved in stocks and then crypto, and I don't know if he was an environmental or he does something. I don't know with the environment, so I think he's just hopefully help with the economy and environment.
Those who expect the abortion issue to drive turnout for President Biden in Arizona should pay attention to what we learned from these respondents. 9 say they are uncertain what the abortion law is currently in their state. 8 say they would vote for a state constitutional amendment, far more than the number who plan to vote for Biden. Only 6 of 12 say former President Trump is at least partially responsible for Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court. To give you a sense of how unsettled all of this is, and how little Biden can rely on voter knowledge of recent Supreme Court history, please watch this remarkable clip from one of our sessions. By a show of fingers, who would say that former President Trump is at least partially responsible for Roe v. Wade being overturned by the Supreme Court? Show of fingers. Who'd say that former President Trump is at least partially responsible for Roe v. Wade being overturned? 5 of you. Okay. Melissa, in what way is he partially responsible?
I think he took a pretty hard stance on his views on abortion. So I feel like he had a lot to do with it being overturned.
Wait, hold on a second. No matter what the president thinks, has no bearing on the Supreme Court's decisions. How did Trump have any impact on the Supreme Court? What did he do specifically that would cause the Supreme Court to be able to overturn Roe v. Wade? You have any sense as to specific steps he took?
To be honest with you, I didn't follow it too much.
Okay.
I just know that it was overturned during his presidency.
Overturned during whose presidency?
Trump's. Was it not?
Okay. How many of you, by show of fingers, think that Roe v. Wade was overturned during Trump's presidency? Okay. All right. So we have difference of opinion there. Manny, tell me how Trump, what Trump did, or was to make him partially responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he appointed one judge for sure, which is the gentleman that was under heat, like at the beginning of his presidency. And I know that RBG passed during his presidency. So I want to say that he was either leaving office as he appointed the last Supreme Justice, or Biden did. But I know for a fact he put one more judge in there, one more Supreme Judge. I just don't know if it's true or not. I forgot.
Okay. Kasaya, how did he impact the Supreme Court decision in Roe v. Wade? What did Trump do?
He elected the justices that overturned that decision.
And how many justices were there?
That overturned the decision?
How many did Trump appoint while he was president?
Oof, I think 3.
Okay. All right, show of fingers. Who thinks that Kasaya is right? Kasaya is right. No one agrees with you on.
I don't know how many.
Number. Kristen, how many did he appoint?
I don't know how many he appointed. I just know the main one that replaced what's her name? Amy Coney.
Amy, yes. Replaced.
Okay, that was in my belief is that she was like the main head of when everybody knew when she was going to be replaced that was what she was going to go after was Roe v. Wade, and that's what happened.
Okay, but was she the only person that Trump that Trump nominated, or were there other people?
That's the only one that stands out to me. So I'm sure he probably did, but that's the one that I know of. So I can't give you an answer on that.
Okay. Enrique?
I think it was, I know for a fact there was two. It was Amy and Brett Kavanaugh, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I agree that, I mean, I think the court is a little bit more on the conservative side. So it definitely, by doing that, it definitely helped.
Okay.
For sure.
By show of fingers, anybody heard of a gentleman named Neil Gorsuch?
Oh, Neil Gorsuch, yes.
Show of fingers, who's heard of Neil Gorsuch? One of you. Okay. Got it. Thank you. By a show of fingers, who's uncertain what the law is in Arizona right now when it comes to abortion? Who's uncertain about what the law is in Arizona right now when it comes to abortion? All six of you are uncertain what the law is right now on abortion in Arizona. Okay. And then there's the question of whether Biden can peel away RFK Jr. voters using this argument. It seemed like a mixed result. So President Biden would say to you that if you vote for RFK Jr., you're throwing your vote away, since Kennedy has no chance of winning. And if you care about abortion rights, you're essentially giving your vote to Trump if you don't support him, meaning Biden. What do you make of that argument?
I think that he's assuming my stance on abortion is that vital. He's assuming most Americans' stance on abortion is that vital. There's plenty of other issues and large issues that we have that affect every American, women or men, that decide who we vote for.
Okay. So he's putting too much stock in abortion as a tool to try to convince you to vote for him.
Correct.
I think it's a compelling one. I think if I was faced with that, I think it might sway my vote. That's hard. I have no defense to that. They're right.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like if that's the situation, then that would sway my vote. But like that would have to be whatever it is at that time, and seeing what's going on and what it looks like, the popularity, if he's going to be popular or anything like that. Then, and if I don't see he's going to be or any chance, then I could understand his way of thinking for saying that.
Finally, there's the issue of immigration. 6 of the respondents said they're concerned about the situation at our southern border. 9 said that Trump would do a better job than Biden in handling that situation. And here are the reasons that they gave. Ruben, why would Trump do a better job?
Because he's proven that he's done it in the past. I mean, like the wall, stopping the flow of traffic, or not stopping it, but actually catching them and not releasing them.
I think the responsibility of like what Melissa said with the kids in the cages was under unfortunately under Obama to the Biden administration. And I think that Trump would actually, I think that he would not let that happen.
So,
I think that he would step in, and I think he would do something about that.
Just the perception that they're being so with Trump, there's the assumption that he's not welcoming, he does not like migrants. I mean, that's so people, just by him being elected, well, we're not going to go to the States because we're not welcome there. And the other one is there's plenty of laws, right? But the administration tells the people that enforce those laws whether to enforce them or to turn a blind eye. I believe that he would encourage to enforce those laws.
7 respondents put more of the blame on a lack of an immigration deal in Washington on Biden, contrasted with only 3 who said Trump is more to blame. Here's why they put the blame on Biden.
He's been in office long enough where he could have really done something about it if he really wanted to. And he hasn't.
I chose Biden because it's like you don't hear him speak about the border or try to push for any change or policies in the border. And that's all you would hear about Trump, even though all he would talk about is a wall. But at least he would that's something.
It just relates back to I don't think Biden's done much of anything. I mean, Trump was very aggressive with immigration, and I feel like Biden let it just unravel completely.
Only 2 respondents are concerned that if Trump becomes president, there will be mass deportations, including of people that they know personally. And here's what nearly all of them agree on. If Trump does win the election, they do not want him to finish the wall.
I just don't think it's effective. Like, I mean, a lot of it was already put up, and you see, whether it's Trump or Biden's fault, you still see people coming through. It's expensive. It's been proven to not necessarily help. A lot of people that come in usually fly in, overstay their visa, so it just doesn't make sense to me.
So, in regards to like being ineffective, most of the illegal immigrants in our country overstay their work visas. They're not coming through the southern border. And most of the drugs that are being brought into our country are not coming through the southern border. They're being brought through legal ports. So it just seems like some nonsense.
It's a waste. I mean, there's the energy and the resources need to be put into an actual plan, not just a materialistic show.
I was gonna add too, like it's just be a huge money pit, and then as well as like we know there's history of them digging tunnels and just other ways. Like it's not gonna solve everything.
Thank you for joining us again this month. Please forward this link to a friend, and please join us again next month.